Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil. Today, we're going to be talking about each of the assault battles, and I want to give a shout out to Teacher Man, one of my channel members, for kind of inspiring this without knowing it. He was asking me about Duel of the Fates, and it got me thinking about all the assault battles, and I thought it was a good time to kind of break down these assault battles. Which one is the most valuable to you, going down to the least valuable? And what all of you, I'm sure, are thinking is they all offer the same amount of rewards. But you do need to, Duel of the Fates different, but again, we'll talk. The bigger thing to understand here is the underlying value in these battles. What teams are you using to get there? How much gear is required? How early can you start really getting into that Challenge Tier 1, Challenge Tier 2, or even Challenge Tier 3? We're going to cover all of that. Please like and subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts. Let's give a massive shout to all of our channel members for their continued support and just understanding as I work through all the things going on in life. Thank you guys for keeping the faith. If you're ever interested, link down below along with a link to the Discord server. Go check it out, guys. Let's get into our video here. Let's talk about assault battles. Alright, so we're going to flip over to the screen capture here, and this is the SWGOH wiki page. If you've never been on here, there's a lot of good information. Some of it is outdated, but there is some really good stuff here. Doesn't need a refresh because the Duel of the Fates battle should be on here. Hold on. Oops, come on now. Where's the assault battles at? Assault battles, there it is. Knew it should be on there, see? So, here are the current 8 assault battles that we have. Now, the Duel of the Fates, as many of you are aware, is very different than the rest of these. The rest of these assault battles all follow the exact same schedule. They've got a tier 1, 2, then a bonus tier, a mythic tier, and then challenge tier 1, 2, and 3. There's no hard and fast requirements outside of 7 stars for these events. There's no, hey, you need to be gear 12. There's none of that. The requirement for gear merely comes from the difficulty of the actual event itself in these 7 battles. Duel of the Fates does have requirements outside of 7 star. In this first battle, right, you need to be 7, down here, there's no requirements. You just need to have the characters. Then it's 5 star, 7 star, then it's 7 star relic 5 to get into tier 4, which is very unique. That is the first battle where there's a relic requirement. Then there's a relic 7 tier, and then a relic 9 tier. You can be relic 8, but it will not get you access to another tier. It's relic 7 or relic 9 or relic 5 for Duel of the Fates. So that makes it a very different assault battle, and in my opinion, it is probably the best assault battle in terms of the resources it can provide to you. We'll get into the other ones here, but I want to first just say Duel of the Fates is the best. And the reason for that is this tier 5 right here. The tier 5 is a relic 7 requirement. Your rewards here are a lot of credits, 100 crystals, some signal data, and then one of the following rewards of 8 Zimital cards, 6 impulse detectors, or 4 arrow magnifiers. The reason this is such a valuable event is because you could be earning impulse detectors and arrow magnifiers without ever having to spend them. Those 2 resources are so rare, and if you got this early in your SWGOH lifetime, you think over a couple of years, you will have earned an absurd amount of Relic 8 and Relic 9 materials without ever having to make an upgrade for the characters to get them. So that's why I rate this one so incredibly high, is because just at stopping at the tier 7, you can earn Relic 8 materials. The Relic 9 tier, as many of you have heard from everybody, is an absurd return on your investment in terms of how quickly you'll get these rewards. The one thing to keep in mind here, if you go to the Relic 9 tier, your ROI to get your Relic 8 materials back is insane. So I would only go to the Relic 9 tier if you're in a space where Relic 8 is not a big problem for you. If Relic 8 is this huge problem, huge hill to climb, stick to the Relic 7 tier. So I did want to at least mention that as we're looking through, this assault battle here, and I wanted to flip over to the game just to show you that, the Relic 7 tier is the best, in my opinion. It's the most valuable assault battle here, right? Absolutely. So let's flip back over here and talk about all the rest of these, because that's, where the most of this video should be spent. So you have Fanatical Devotion, Forest Moon, Ground War, Military Might, Places of Power, Rebel Roundup, and Secrets and Shadows. For each of these, as I showed you guys, the rewards here, what's very different is you can earn Zetas, right? Now, on the Mythic tier, you'll get Omegas. But down here, you'll get Zetas, you'll get Kyrotech, Injector Salvage, and then in the challenge tiers, you can earn Relic resources up to Relic 6. So there is some benefit here that you could probably do this with Relic 5s and you'd be earning extra resources, but it's, again, your ROI for this is a very long time, because remember, with the Duel of the Fates, it's only 2 characters that is required, Master Qui-Gon, Padawan Obi-Wan. Whereas in these battles here, you're looking at a team of 5 characters from a specific faction. So that does add an element there that you are going to have to make a greater investment into these. And it's one of the big reasons I will always tell you that assault battles need to be viewed as bonus income. Duel of the Fates, you could say, yes, this is worth doing just for these rewards, but all the rest of these, I would probably argue you need to view them as bonus income. And even with Duel of the Fates, because of the Battle for Naboo raid right now, makes a lot of sense, but I think once that sunsets, there's going to be a more difficult conversation there, and we'll have to address that at a later time. But for these other battles, they need to be viewed as a bonus income, not something that I'm going to go in Relic 5 all of my Imperial Troopers to be able to do assault battles. That's not a smart investment decision. You don't base your investments off the fact that you'll get a return from assault battles. It takes too long. So where you're going to be looking is how quickly can you get to this challenge tier 1, challenge tier 2, and with what level of investment. So that's where you want to pay attention, because tier 3 ups the ante. It's a lot more challenging. I would argue in a lot of them, tier 2 can be done with gear 12s. Tier 3, you normally need some relics and some very good mods. So we're going to rate the rest of these 7 in terms of how valuable I view them to your account, in terms of the teams that can beat it, the investments you're going to make, all that stuff. So now that we're all through that, let's go back to the game. So the first one we're going to look at here are I'd say the first 3 are Military Might, Rebel Roundup, and Forest Moon. In my personal opinion, these are the 3 most valuable assault battles in terms of the teams you're going to be using there and the ease with which you can get through challenge tier 2. All these challenge tiers can be done with gear 12s. There is some Zeta investment, but not a crazy amount. You don't need a crazy amount of Zetas to do these. And the characters you're going to use are ones that are very accessible to you. The Military Might is Rebels and Clone Troopers. So if we flip back over to the, this piece here, the Military Might, again, it's Rebels and Clone Troopers. So there's a plethora of teams you can use here, right? You got the CLS team. You've got Clone Trooper teams, which, Bad Batch, I'm sure. I don't know if Bad Batch can beat this. I'm not 100%. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I don't know about that. But the Phoenix can be here. Mon Mothma Rebel Fighters. There's a lot of Rebels that can go here. I beat it with CLS back in the day, and I think that's a very, very, very accessible team. Now, the Rebel Roundup is the one that you can use either Bounty Hunters or Imperial Troopers here. Both of them are very capable of doing Challenge Tier 2 with minimal gear. Challenge Tier 3 requires a substantial investment in relics on your Imperial Troopers, or you kind of need Jabba the Hutt. But still a very solid assault battle, good rewards. Again, lower relics doing the trick there. And with Forest Moon, it's Empire or droid characters. Again, gear 12s can get you challenge tier 2. The big thing that we always love to talk about that everybody has to bring up is, well, Phil, if you invest in Imperial Troopers, you get 2 assault battles. And you are absolutely right. That your Imperial Troopers are also Empire. So by investing in them to lower gear, you get them to like gear 12, you can unlock 2 different assault battles. The one caveat there being that the ones you're going to want to use, those characters like Moff Gideon and Dark Trooper, require a lot of Kyrotech, so there's decisions to be made there. But that is a very good thing that is worth mentioning. By getting those 2, you can also do the Forest Moon and Rebel Roundup, getting 2 for 1. That is something that a lot of players really love to do. I think it's a smart tactic as long as you're not going crazy with your investments on those Imperial Troopers, because again, the return on challenge tier 3 is so far in the future, and even like the relics you're going to spend, it's so far in the future. I don't want you going crazy with your relics, trying to get them when there's plenty of other teams that will get you challenge tier 3 as you grow naturally. And that's one of the reasons Military Might is at the first spot there, because you're going to build that team all to relics. They're all Galactic Legend requirements. It's just a very solid team, right? So those are the first 3 that I think are worth mentioning. Then we're going to get down to the next 2, which is Ground War and Places of Power. These are the ones that require Jedi and like Sith characters here. So let's go back over. So the where's Ground War? So Ground War, you're battling Separatists. You can use Ewoks or Jedi. Ignore Ewoks, use Jedi. Again, rewards very similar. Can do Challenge Tier 2 with minimal relics or Gear 12s. You do probably need Jedi Knight Revan to get through Challenge Tier 2, and to get through Challenge Tier 3, you absolutely need, I shouldn't say absolutely, you probably need Jedi Knight Luke or some very good other Jedi. In fact, I've heard people say that Challenge Tier 3, you can't do, like Jedi Master Kenobi will not beat Challenge Tier 3. Jedi Knight Luke will, and I very much believe that. I can attest to that. The thing about this battle, why it's a little bit lower than the other ones, is because Jedi Knight Luke is a little bit less accessible than those other characters. There's a lot more investment required there. And then in terms of where's the Places of Power, where you can use First Order or Sith characters, the First Order can beat this, but they won't be able to, your Kylo probably won't be able to sim it you won't be able to sim it. You'll have to use him every single time. But honestly, at Tier 2, with a couple, I was able to use like Gear 12, Darth Traya, Nihilus, and I was able to consistently beat this event. It's not one it's time consuming, but thankfully with the sim button, you can get through fairly easily. So once you can sim it, very easy to get to Challenge Tier 2 without a crazy amount of investment. But the reason why these ones drop off for me in comparison to the others is the characters required start to amp up a little bit. You need the Jedi Knight Lukes and the Jedi Knight Revans. You're looking at the Malaks and Darth Revans. They just start requiring a bit more challenging characters to get to. And not that they're bad characters, but your level of investment has increased. And so trying to tell you to go build your Sith team to do the Places of Power, like, oh yeah, go get Malak because he's going to help you do that. Malak's a great character and you should build him in spite, ignoring the fact that he can help you with this assault battle. But if it was building for one of these, I would tell you to go for Military Might, Ground War, even Forest Moon, Rebel Roundup. Go for those teams before going for something like the Places of Power, simply because the other benefits that those characters bring you. Because Malak and the Revan, if you're not going for Leviathan, they're not an immediate need. But Jedi Knight Luke gates you from 2 different galactic legends. Like there's a lot of stuff that he can gate you from that he's very important to. If you had to ask me if I had to give up Malak or Jedi Knight Luke, I would give up Malak 10 times out of 10. Right? Again, assuming I get to keep Leviathan, because again, that plays a whole different thing. But if you're like 3 million GP, Leviathan is so far away, it doesn't matter, right? So, got to make sure we understand that aspect. So then we get to the last 2 assault battles here, which is Secrets and Shadows and Fanatical Devotion, right? These are the last 2 battles here. The reason these are the last 2 is because Inquisitors, you're not really able to do this without relics. It's one of the hardest assault battles. It's probably the hardest when you consider the amount of investment you put into your Inquisitors. It's definitely the hardest. The reason I put it above Secrets and Shadows is because you're more likely to build your Inquisitors earlier than you are Night Sisters, simply to go get Reva. But Fanatical Devotion is brutal. Anybody who has played that will tell you it is the most challenging assault battle they've probably played. And again, it's the same rewards, right? It's the same rewards. Your ROI on this is like forever. With the investment you're going to put into your Inquisitors to be able to beat this, like you're looking at years and years and years and years just to get your signal data back. So there's not a lot of value here trying to get to that battle early, right? Like there's not a lot of value because you need to invest in your Inquisitors 2 relic levels to be able to compete in it, comparative to your other battles right in here where you can do them with Gear 12s. You can do them with a lot less investment and start earning those Chirotechs and signal data to be able to improve your farms. And then with Secrets and Shadows, this one again is Night Sisters and Phoenix, which we'll talk about in a second here. But with the Night Sisters, your biggest problem there is simply that they are they don't help you get anything else, right? They're not what's the wording here? Only one of them is needed for a Journey Guide character. That's Asajj. They're a great team, but they're not something that a lot of players are going out of their way to build. I think a lot of players have them relics now thanks to the Lightspeed bundles, but before that, they weren't something that many people were going after. So I think your the value here is a lot less because while they're a good team, you know, if you had to ask somebody, would you rather have the CLS team or Night Sister team? Everybody's going to take CLS. Everybody would take Inquisitors and all these other teams. So that's why this one is last. I can tell you I've beat Challenge Tier 3 with these Night Sisters as they're listed here. It's a brutal challenge. It is very mod intensive, much more mod intensive than any other of these assault battles that I've done. It's probably it's much more of a mod check than a gear check in my opinion. Some of these it's more of a gear check. This one is a mod check. The one thing I do want to mention though is that the Phoenix gets the honorable mention because they kind of fly under the radar here. But you can get to, I think, at least Challenge Tier 1, if not Challenge Tier 2 in Secrets and Shadows with this team. I don't think they're capable of beating Challenge Tier 3. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think they're quite capable of pulling that off. And I'm not sure if they can 3-star it. Somebody will have to fact check me there. But they do get you to assault battles, right? They can get you the Rebel one, and they can compete in the Secrets and Shadows with Captain Rex. So I think that is worth mentioning. I feel like they're a team that oftentimes gets, I don't want to say disrespected, but I don't know that they get mentioned as often as the Imperial Troopers do for being able to unlock to assault battles. And honestly, the same thing would go for the Inquisitors. Remember, like, you build the Inquisitors, they're also Empire. So they can get to Forest Moon. And that's just another thing that I feel sometimes players overlook is this, you know, they're like, oh yeah, you know, my Imperial Troopers will get me, you know, the Forest Moon and they'll get me Rebel Roundup. But then they've already built their Inquisitors. And it's like, well, no, your Troopers could maybe get you Rebel Roundup, but you need Inquisitors for this battle. And just to play devil's advocate here, because I know everybody's, you know, coming in the comments to torch me. You do not need Imperial Troopers at all, because you can use Bounty Hunters here, you can use other Empire here, and you can use, you know, Inquisitors probably do both of these. So Inquisitors handle both, because otherwise you have to build Tuskens, and I don't know Tuskens actually beat this. So it's just one of these funny things where Imperial Troopers went from arguably like the most valuable team for assault battles to one that I would argue you can leave it like Gear 11 and just wait for Jabba to be able to clear Rebel Roundup. I think Mara Jade with Empire, I'd love to do some testing to see if Mara Jade and Empire can handle this Forest Moon, because in the past you definitely needed, you know, some characters you needed the Imperial Troopers, but I think now with a lot of other things in the game, this Forest Moon battle probably a lot easier. So that's the end of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this breakdown. Again, I think that each of these battles, as I showed you guys the teams, and there's other ones that beat them, but I think this is the order that I would rate them in terms of the value they bring. So again, if you've forgotten that order or weren't paying attention, you know, obviously Duel of the Fates #1, we move on. That Relic 7 tier just so good. But getting the Military Might, Rebel Roundup is the next one in terms of just the Bounty Hunters and Imperial Troopers being able to be used there. The Empire on Forest Moon is very good. Ground War, Place of Power, Fanatical Devotion, and finally Secrets and Shadows. And of course, got to honorable mention our Phoenix for being able to do 2 assault battles. That doesn't get enough love. I love you guys. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, my friends.